This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. The Money Hour with Clive Bull on LBC.
Good evening, I'm Clive Bull. This is LBC. I'm with you till 10. And coming up in the Money Hour, we're talking about pensions and planning for your future. There's a large number of changes happening in this area, so we'll be going through those and answering your questions as well. If you'd like some advice, then call now. I'm joined in the studio by Charlie Redding, one of the UK's top financial planners and author of The Dream Retirement. So whether it's years away or imminent, have you made plans for your retirement? If you're not sure and you have a question, then call us now, 0345 6060 973. So that's the Money Hour on pensions and planning for your future between now and 10 here on LBC. Yes, a lot going on in the pensions world, and if you've got a question, then it's a chance to get some advice. 0345 6060 973 is the number. Charlie Redding is a financial planner, author of The Dream Retirement as well. Hello, Charlie.
Hi, Clive. Nice to see you again.
Thank you very much for coming in. Let's kick off with the state pension first of all, just because there's as I mentioned, there's a lot of changes going on, in fact, to all aspects of pensions, but I'm not sure everybody is aware of what's happening.
Well, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of changes to the whole pensions world and have been dramatic changes over the last 2 or 3 years. Probably too many changes to all come at once, if we're honest. Some of the changes have been fantastic, and they're starting to revolutionise the way that we retire in the UK. And I think 20 years from now, we'll be looking back and saying these were, really significant changes, particularly those that have happened to the state pension. But the rate at which these changes have happened and are likely to continue to happen does mean that everybody feels like they're a bit behind the curve, and it's pretty difficult keeping up with them, a lot of these changes. Yeah,
I read today something about, I think it was women affected by pensions feel that they haven't been given enough warning to plan suitably for this.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the retirement age for women used to be age 60, and if you're in the wrong age group, then potentially in the last few years you've had 2 increase to your retirement age in fairly quick succession. So having got used to the idea of retiring at 60 and have, if you've been savvy and done your financial planning and geared up to retirement age 60, suddenly to have that change to then 63 and then later on, say 60, nearly 65, makes quite a significant change. Particularly, I've seen a couple of examples where people have actually retired knowing that their state pension is going to kick in at a certain date, and then of course that's put back, and that really makes it difficult to plan for your retirement if the goalposts are moving in with that little warning.
And this was described as a flat rate pension. Is it actually that, though? Because the more I hear about it, the less flat it sounds.
Yes, well, it's the flat rate pension that isn't flat for almost anybody at the moment. In due course, it will be a flat rate pension. Essentially, what's happened here is we've gone from a low state pension with lots of complicated ways of increasing it, both through the amount of tax you paid or through means-tested benefits, to try and have one reasonable flat pension for everybody. And most people will benefit from this new environment once it's fully installed. But of course, we've got to taper across from a current system to a new system. And that's happening pretty quickly, really, in pension terms. Most of those changes are being phased in between now and 2020, which, 5 years is pretty quick when it comes to pensions talk. And so there's a lot of people that are now trying to get from the current system to the new system, and there's effectively a graduated system. So from 2020 onwards, you're likely to have a flat rate pension or pretty close to it. For those people that hit their retirement age between now and then, it's just a complicated system, and you have to work out where you fit in that remit.
And when we talk about planning for your future, I mean, there are obviously people who are coming up to retirement who are going to have to think about this quite a lot. But also, how early do you think you should be thinking about these things. People used to say the earlier the better. I used to be, when I was in my 20s, people would say all the time, you've got to think about your pension. I thought, what? I'm 20 or something. But would you still urge people at a younger age to think about it?
Absolutely. The sooner you can start thinking about this, the easier it will be. I'll give you an example. If a 40-year-old decides he's going to save for retirement and he puts £100 a month into his pension until 65, that means that he's saved £30,000 over that time. And as long as he gets a reasonable growth rate of, let's say, something like 6% after retirement, after charges, then he'll end up with a pot of money that's about £107,000. If, however, somebody had started at age 20 and they put in £56 a month, so that is the same £30,000 that the 40-year-old had started, but they have an extra 20 years to save it over. Their pot comes out at over £150,000. So that's £150,000 over £107,000 is a huge increase for not actually putting any more money in, but just starting to save earlier. So it really is the earlier the better, but it's never too late. The pension freedom rules have allowed people to save and benefit from the money very quickly, and save significant amounts of tax and boost their income in retirement. So it really is never too late, but it's certainly never too early.
OK, we're talking about pensions and planning for your future financially. If you've got a question or a point, then call us now. 0345 6060 973 is the number. Let's go to Francis in Richmond. Hello, Francis.
Oh, hi there, Clive.
Hi.
Hi, Francis.
Hi there. We're talking about pensions. If you retire, when you retire, you don't become a cat. You're still the same human being you were the day before.
Very true.
There lots of things happen to people, maybe before they retire, and sometimes reasons for why they have ended up retiring, and maybe to look after their mother, for instance, and obviously they can't work and they really can't get any income. I.e., in London, one needs something in the region of £35,000 to have a reasonably civilized life. And if you retire, say even you retire at say 75, and obviously I'm a planner for the future. I'm hoping I've got another 70 years to go. But if you retire at 75 and you live to 95, even at today, if you look at today, 35,000 a year for 10 years is 350,000. For 20 years, that's 700,000.
That's a lot of money.
And in 20 years' time, what will that be worth? Not a lot. If you've been saving since you were 20, and you end up with 150,000, and you're hoping to I've saved for my retirement. I'm going to retire early, so I'm going to retire at, I suppose then early retirement would be about 70, and he's got 100,000 or 200,000. He lives for 20 years and wants to live at 35,000 a year.
Just to try and understand your point, then you're really questioning whether you can save enough because of the value of your money.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that society as a whole should be looking at how people can have a reasonable standard of living when they're living at 35,000. If you're unemployed, for instance, you don't get 35,000, do you?
No.
So how do you have
okay, let's get Charlie's opinion on that then. For a start, the state pension is not going to deliver anything like what Francis is talking about.
No, you're absolutely right. The state pension is pretty much going to deliver you the absolute minimum you could possibly get away with living on, I think, really. The new flat rate pension comes in at a higher level, but it's still £155 a week. We're not talking a lot of money here. So really, you've got to have put some money aside yourself if you want to retire on a sensible level of income. Either that, or you retire later than the state retirement age, and that allows you to build up a higher state pension. But one way or the other, you really do need to try and supplement it one way, for your later life. It is a difficult, I think his point was interesting in that it is difficult understanding the future value of money and how much a pot of money that you've got at retirement. It's a really difficult psychological thing as well as a mathematical thing. Getting your head around the fact that you're no longer going to accumulate any more money. You've now got to live off what you've saved for the rest of your life. There are tools that can help you do that. There's a tool that we use for our clients called a lifetime cash flow forecast. There are free versions of that online, but obviously the more sophisticated the tool, the better the output. But that's fantastic at kind of modelling what people's life is going to look like from a financial perspective. Retirement used to fall down in that it assumed that you were as likely to climb Kilimanjaro at 95 as you were at 65, which was completely crazy. People have the bucket list that they want to do in the early years of retirement. And then after that, probably from sort of 75 to 80 onwards, they're less likely to be doing crazy trips. So modelling your income that will actually give you the lifestyle that you need is really powerful. It can make sure that you don't run out, but you also make sure that you don't die the richest man in the graveyard.
But can it also keep pace with inflation?
Well, that's one of the things that you would build into a cash flow forecast, is to say, well, if we assume inflation is going to be at this level, we need to model an income. If you've said that 35,000 is the income that you need from the day you retire till the day you die, then we need to model into that inflation too. So you need to, that's one of the benefits of cash flow forecasting, because it allows you to do that sort of thing.
OK, Charlie Redding is here. We're talking about pensions and retirement and financial planning. If you've got a question, then call us now. 0345 6060 973 is the number. It's the Money Hour here on LBC. I'm Clive Bull and it's 9:15. This is LBC. I'm Clive Bull with you till 10. We're talking about financial planning and pensions at the moment. Whether you are retiring imminently or it's years, decades off even. If you've got a question about planning and pensions, then call now 0345 6060 973. Financial planner Charlie Redding is here, author of The Dream Retirement. Let's go to Peter in Charlton. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Hello, Clive. Hello, Clive. Hello, Charlie. A quick aside, actually, because you said about some women have actually as much as 65. My wife was born in 54, and she retires now at 67, which is a bit of a shock to her.
Quite a change, isn't it?
It's a huge change.
It is, yeah. But to my question, I'm 61 years of age now. I'm probably I got made redundant in February and then got a new job, which is a 0 hours contract job, but it's not bad. I tend to get the hours that I'm looking for. But I've received a letter about the workplace pension and telling me exactly what percentage I will pay in and what percentage they will pay in. But what I really need to know is it worth me doing it at 61 years of age? I have no other pension. I was self-employed for a while, and I did pay into a private pension, which actually its value got more or less destroyed. And whether I did the right thing or not, I don't know. But I converted that private pension I took as much cash as I could take out, and then turned the others into 2 annuities, which pay a pittance.
Okay, so in terms of the question, is it worth joining your workplace pension even though you're 61 years old? Absolutely, it is worth it. It is, because otherwise you're giving up free money. Your employer is about to pay into this pension. Obviously, I don't know what level, but whatever level they're going to pay in, it's free money. It's a pay rise for you. Furthermore, the fact that you're putting money into this pension now, even though you may want to take it out in 4 years' time or whatever your retirement age is, that money is still going to benefit from tax relief now. And if your income is lower when you retire than it is today, you may even be able to take that out tax-free. So you'll be deferring tax from your income today and taking it out either probably at a lower rate tax or maybe even tax-free when you come to retire. Even if you don't reduce your tax rate when in retirement, 25% of it will be tax-free. So even if it's in there for, even if it was going to be in there for 1 year, it would still be worth it. It would still be better than not doing it.
Right. Bye.
There you go, Peter. Thank you very much. If you've got a question about pensions and financial planning, then give us a call now. 0345 6060 973. A lot of big changes happening in the pensions world as well. Workplace pensions we mentioned there, which are gradually sort of spreading across all companies, aren't they?
They are. It's been a huge challenge for a lot of companies, including the pension providers, to get this far. But we're only just really getting to the sort of proper crest of the wave. You know, there's literally millions of companies that still have to go through this. I think there's 1.7 million companies that still have to go through this, most of which employ one or two people. So these guys have to put a workplace pension in place as well.
Eventually, even people who employ a nanny, I was told,
Correct,
are going to have to do that.
Yeah, which just seems slightly over the top. But so yes, it's caused a lot of chaos. It is a good thing. It's basically enrolling people. You know, I think that the government works on the basis that if you put people into the pension, then they'll probably stay in. They expected initially about 28% of people to jump, you know, to opt out. Actually, that's only 10% so far. So more people are staying in these pensions than originally expected. But that's because people are inherently lazy when it comes to their pensions and retirement planning. If it involves filling out a form, then usually, if they can choose not to, they won't bother, and that's why they end up staying in these pensions.
What would you say for somebody who's just starting in a job and they get faced with this thing? Do you want to join the... Well, you're enrolled into it, and then they've got the dilemma, do I come out of it and have a bit of extra money, or do I go with it? I mean, even at age 24, would you go for that, or what are the pros and cons?
Well, the pros are that it's a free pay rise. It's a free pay rise from your employer because they're giving you extra money, putting it into the pension. That money is still yours. I know it's in a pot of money that you can't access until, well, if you're 24 today, probably not until 67, 68, maybe even age 70. But ultimately, you're going to need some income at that point. And so it's your employer giving you free money. So it is a good thing to do. And not only is the employer giving you free money, the taxman's giving you money back as well. So it really is a worthwhile thing to do as soon as you can.
OK, let's talk to Raj in Ilford. Hello, Raj.
Good evening, Clive. Good evening.
Evening.
Charlie.
Good evening, Raj.
Two quick questions. Number one is if you have a strong income and you're used to a certain standard of living, when it came to it that you wish to now not work so hard, how do you assure that your pension gives you the same earning? Obviously, the obvious answer is to save, etc. But what is the intelligent, smart way to do that, to achieve that outcome? And second question was, can you actually take a loan against your pension policy?
Okay, two great questions. Thank you, Raj. The first question in terms of how much do you need to save really does depend on how much you're spending, but also how long you're going to live, which is a difficult question to answer, I appreciate. So there's really two significant options when you get to retirement. One is to buy an annuity, which is a guaranteed fixed income for the rest of your life, but you're handing over the whole pot of money in exchange for that. Or the second is to leave the money invested in the pension and draw out an income. Now, with an annuity, it's quite easy to do that calculation because depending on your age and also your health, if you have suffered from any significant health problems, you can get annuity rates that will tell you what your sort of replacement rate is. So by that way, you can calculate exactly how much the money that you've saved will generate as an income for the rest of your life. And because it's an annuity, it's then guaranteed. If you want to go into drawdown, which is where you leave the money in the pension and just drip the money out at the right pace for you, it's a bit more challenging because that's where you need to effectively work out what your life expectancy is likely to be, what the growth rate is likely to be on that money, and therefore how much you can afford to take out. So it is a bit more challenging, but it does give you the flexibility to increase, decrease, stop and start your income if you wish. And that's where a tool like a lifetime cash flow forecast really helps.
Can you switch between one to another?
You can go from drawdown to an annuity, but once you've bought an annuity or a traditional annuity, then that's it. Now, there are some more flexible annuities coming out and fixed-term annuities, and I think the annuity market will really kind of revolutionise in the coming years following pension freedom. But once you've bought a traditional annuity, that's it. You can't really go back unless the government is proposing that you're going to be able to sell this annuity back, but quite what rates you're likely to get for that, I'm not so sure that'll be worthwhile. So generally speaking, drawdown is quite a useful tool to as long as you manage your money carefully, to do in those early years of retirement, particularly where you're doing the bucket list and you might want to alter your retirement, increase it 1 year from the next. But once you've sort of settled into retirement, you might want to then buy an annuity with the remaining capital so that you know you'll definitely never have any less than that income. Would you mind reminding me of your second question, please? Sorry.
Yes, is it possible to take a loan against a pension scheme?
Not very easily. It is, if you own your own business, you can loan money to your business from your pension fund with certain restrictions. You have to have a type of pension scheme called a SAS, and you can do that. It is fairly restricted nowadays, and it usually needs to be secured against something like a commercial premises. But generally speaking, it's not very easy.
So you can't go and say, well, can you lend me the money? I'm going to be getting this pension in 2 years' time or whatever.
No, you can't.
OK, right, there you go, Raj. Thank you very much for that. 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. One quick thing I wanted to mention as well. When pensions come up and you say that, there's a need for a lot of advice, but people are taking advantage of this, and there are scam calls going around, people claiming to be helping you with your pension. And I think we should just maybe highlight that and to beware if somebody rings you.
I think that is a very important point. At this moment in time, there's a huge risk to what are significant pots of money that are suddenly more accessible than they've ever been. And I think there's lots of different avenues that risk could take. Yes, there are people calling and scamming people out of their money. Absolutely. So anybody that phones up offering you pension advice, you should, firstly, I would always want to meet them face to face, but secondly, you want to make sure that they're authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, and you want to do some research into who you're, in the same way that if anybody else phones you up, you'd want to be suspicious. Even more so when you're talking about probably the second most valuable asset you own. There's obviously a lot of problem with cybercrime at the moment as well. We saw Panorama week ago where people are being hacked into, and that is a huge risk for people's pension accounts as well. And then there's also another risk where people are not being scammed so much as just put into really dodgy investments that are unregulated and pay very high commissions. Things like, I've seen investments that are investing in teak, others that are investing in Romanian property, and we've seen clients that have come to us that have had this sort of advice in the past where their pensions are now pretty much worthless as a result of being put into these unregulated.
Really careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
OK, we'll take more calls and points on pensions and financial planning. Charlie Redding is with me. 0345 6060 973 is the number. I'm Clive Bull, LBC News Time 9:30.
Clive Bull, Sunday to Thursday evenings on LBC.
I'm Clive Bull and this is LBC, and we're looking at pensions and financial planning in this hour. Charlie Redding is here, the author of The Dream Retirement. He's a financial planner. If you'd like some advice on planning for your future, whether it's a long way away retirement or imminent, give us a call. 0345 6060 973. Let's go to Roy in Camden. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Clive and
Hi.
Charlie. My question is, I'm 69, and I'm currently I'm still working, and with my pension and my income, I'm currently in the 40% bracket. I've deferred my old age pension, and what I want to know is what system will I fall into, say when I'm 70, and I would, try and draw my pension. Because I won't be working.
Okay, great question, Roy. And this is a common question we're being asked at the moment. Because you hit your state retirement age some years ago, you fall into the current, or otherwise known as old, system of state pension. So even though you're deferring your pension until after April next year, when the new so-called flat rate pension comes into play, that won't affect you at all. Now, the good thing is that actually, because you've deferred your state pension, you've been accumulating an extra 10%, just over 10% of your income each state pension income each year because of that. Whereas on the new system, had you been doing it, it would only be a little over, or just under 6%. So you've been benefiting from that roll up as a result of the old system, and that is. But you're always going to remain in that old system. You're never going to be affected by this flat rate pension, and you're going to have the choice of taking a lump sum or a higher income. But bear in mind, when you take that lump sum, that's all going to be liable to higher rate tax. So you're going to lose 40% of it.
OK, thank you very much, Roy. Great question. Here's Patricia in Uxbridge on LBC. Hello, Patricia.
Good evening, Clive. Good
Hi.
evening, Charlie.
Good evening, Patricia.
Yes. My question is, I've got 6 pensions with 6 different employers. Like, one of the employer was like 12 years, and then there's like 4 years, and then, few years following those. So I was wondering, could I consolidate all of the pension or leave them where they are? Because some of the pensions were like 7% and some were 6% from the employer that they paid in.
Okay, great question, Patricia. Thank you for that. Certainly, this is a common problem we see with people that have collected pensions behind them from different employers, like sort of cans dragging behind a wedding car, I suppose. But yes, you can put all of those pensions into one pot. Whether that's the best thing to do or not is difficult to tell you, but without looking at each individual one. Now, generally speaking, it probably is a good idea. But if you've got 1 or 2 quirky pensions that have particular guarantees, or you have any final salary pensions, for example, or some schemes have higher amounts of tax-free cash, then in those examples you probably wouldn't want to move them. But certainly having all of your pensions in one pot, makes sure that you can manage that money much better in retirement. You can draw a more efficient income, but also you can actually invest the money much more sensibly because you can do it across one portfolio rather than having it dotted around. But I think the key here is that you really need to seek independent financial advice on these existing pensions. What I wouldn't do is just go off and transfer them willy-nilly, because otherwise you could cost yourself some very valuable benefits. So getting some independent financial advice from a company like us at Efficient Portfolio will really help you understand what pensions you've got and which ones should be transferred, and then also the best way of drawing an income from those in the future. OK, Patricia, thank you very much for that. Bearing in mind that especially these days, people go from one job to another. Most people are not going to be in one job for life, which used to happen to more of an extent. Wouldn't it make sense to have a pension that you can just take around from one job to the next and to the next? Well, most of our clients do have that in effect. They have a pension that we manage for them, and we do a proper portfolio that's designed around their retirement plans, their tolerance to risk, all of those things that are specific to their situation. They then move from one job to the next, and generally speaking, most of them, when they leave that job, will then transfer that money into their personal arrangement and manage that properly in line with their retirement. But it's important they join these employer schemes to benefit from the free, the free contributions. So, in essence, a lot of people do have that.
Right. Should it happen automatically, though? That workplace pensions, I'm sure the government could invent something that just goes with you.
Well, it could happen. The problem is you've got so many different types of pensions. Things like final salary schemes, things like pensions where you've got a higher amount of tax-free cash than 25%. You've got some older pension schemes that have things like guaranteed annuity rates. So if they did it automatically, then people would miss out. And if you might find that, one scheme is significantly better than another scheme, and therefore actually by doing it automatically, you're actually becoming worse off.
In my lifetime, there have been so many different types of pensions with different names. This one comes in, that one goes out. And it's sort of quite off-putting, in fact. There have been so many changes, so many different kind of pensions, that it just leaves you baffled and confused. Is it actually better now? Is it simpler?
I'm not sure I would describe it as simpler, if I'm honest.
Possibly not.
Elements are significantly better. Elements are more challenging. there's probably never been a better or greater need for advice, because it does seem to be moving so quickly. And not only are we trying to advise clients on what's right today, but we're almost trying to second guess what the government are going to be saying in, we've got the autumn statement coming up this week. So, we might get some pension changes. George Osborne's already said that next March, when we have the budget, we're going to almost certainly get some dramatic pension changes. It's not like we haven't had any of those recently, is it? So it's really challenging keeping up with the pace, even when you are a pension specialist and spend your whole life looking at them. So when you're in the general public, trying to get on with your working life, trying to keep up with what's going on must be a nightmare.
Yeah. OK, let's see if we can help Simon in Edinburgh. Hello, Simon.
Hi, Clive.
Hi, what's your question?
Basically, I'm self-employed. I have a couple of businesses, and I'm still in my 20s. I'm only 27, and I really haven't really thought about what I should do as someone who's self-employed rather than being employed, in terms of planning for a pension or anything. I just kind of basically wanted some advice on someone who is self-employed and still in their 20s. What should I do, or what options do I have?
Well, you obviously don't get the lovely employer-sponsored contributions that somebody that was employed that would get, but you get the wonderful flexibility of being able to do what you want with your time and managing your own business, so that offsets it, hopefully. But really, making pension contributions, you're going to need some retirement funds, some pension to be able to live off in due course once you've kind of retired from your highly successful business. So you're going to want to put some money aside, and pensions really are the most tax-efficient mechanism or wrapper for you to do that into. And you do get good, attractive tax relief for making those contributions. So, as I said earlier in the programme, there really isn't, it really is impossible to start too early in saving for your retirement. And at 27, you're certainly not too late. You've got plenty of time on your side, and I would encourage you to start saving something monthly. Now, I know as a self-employed business owner, you might say, well, actually my income fluctuates and it's difficult to know how much, difficult to commit to something. And what I say to a lot of business owners is, even if you think let's say you think you might be able to afford £300 a month, but you daren't commit to that, well, at least set up and you'd rather try and sweep up something at the end of the year, at least set up something monthly, let's say, £100 or £150 a month or something like that. And then at the end of the tax year, before you get to the end of the tax year, have a look at your profits for the year and say, could I afford to top that up to the original level? Because that way you've got the discipline of knowing that even if, you get busy and you forget to do the lump sum, you will have still saved something for your retirement. So it's really good discipline to get saving something monthly.
OK, Simon, I hope that helps. Thank you very much. More calls coming in a moment. We're talking about pensions and financial planning. 0345 6060 973 is the number. LBC, I'm Clive Bull, and it's 9:45. Yes, Ian Collins will be here at 10 on LBC. I'm Clive Bull, and with me for the Money Hour is Charlie Redding, financial planner, author of The Dream Retirement, and that's what we're talking about, really, how to plan for your future. Questions about pensions and planning, 0345 6060 973. Let's go to Nigel in London Colney. Hello, Nigel.
Oh, hello there.
Hi.
Hi, Nigel.
When I reached 65, I would have worked on a PAYE basis for 49 years. Now, tell me, what's the minimum amount of years you should have worked at as a PAYE employee to enjoy the new flat rate pension?
Oh, very good question.
Good question, Nigel. 35 years.
Right, that's great.
You're all right.
See, I've worked 35 years, okay, but out of that 49 years, I've been 14 years opted out.
Okay, opted out of the second state pension, or SERPS as it was called.
So am I going to be penalised or not?
Well, you could describe it as being penalised. You will get a lesser pension,
Why?
state
Because
pension.
I've made a sufficient amount of contributions to enjoy the full
you've paid your 35 as well.
It's a great point, actually, because yes, you've paid a significant amount of tax over those years. But equally, had you not...
5 years worth of 5 years worth of full POA contributions, plus my earnings-related contribution.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But when you opted out, did you... was that because of a company scheme that you were in, or was it because...
No. I just followed Maggie's advice, opted out, took out a private pension, and I must admit, I just ignored the buff manila envelopes advising me to opt back in. And suddenly I was opted back in without my say-so by the government.
Well, yeah, because that's because the second state pension has been knocked on the head now. So you've been opted back in because there is no second state pension, so therefore you can't opt out of it. Yes, you will get a lower flat rate pension, but that's because when you've opted out, you've paid a lower rate of tax, and that difference, the lower rate of tax, was put into that pension for you. It's called an appropriate personal pension at the time. So that pension that you've got is because you didn't pay as much tax as other people. So it would be quite unfair if you were to receive the same flat rate of pension as somebody that had paid a higher rate of tax and didn't have that private pension that had been topped up by that tax money. So I understand that you feel like you're not getting the same benefit as others, but actually, in a way, because you will be benefiting from this money that you've put into this pension as a result of being opted out, actually you will top up your state pension with that money. Now, whether that's as much, whether that will buy you as much income in retirement as the new flat rate state pension will depend on how much growth you've had in that fund. But really, that's why you're getting a lesser pension.
OK, there we go, Nigel. Thank you very much for that. James in Surrey. Hello, James.
Hello, hi.
Hi, what can we do for you?
Well, I'm just kind of finding, I'm self-employed and I work with lots of other people that are self-employed. Generally, we earn around about £30,000 a year. And we live, most people I work with live in and around Surrey. And not so much for me, but for my colleagues, the idea of being able to pay £100 a month into a pension pot versus maybe paying into a mortgage and getting onto the property ladder and that sort of thing just seems a little bit unrealistic. And I just wonder your thoughts on that.
I think it's a great question. I think it is a challenge to be able to do both. You're living in Surrey, you need a significant deposit to be able to buy a property there, don't you? And you do have a battle. Now, I had a feeling that you were going to start to say, should I buy a buy-to-let property instead of a pension? But I think this is a very different question. Ultimately, buying a property to live in means that you're not paying rent. You get hopefully some capital growth on the property over those years. You pay off the mortgage, and you can afford to retire once you've, hopefully once you've paid off that mortgage. So I think really that the annoying thing is you need to do a bit of both, really. And whilst that might sound frustrating, even if you can only afford to save at a lesser rate into a pension in these years ahead, really I would be trying to do that as well as saving up the money for a deposit. Just because it will get you into the discipline of saving into a pension, but also it will mean that you can start to benefit from compound growth, which is this effect of the longer you leave that money to grow, the greater the benefit will be to you. But I appreciate you've got to do that in tandem with saving enough money to be able to buy a property. So in an ideal world, you do a bit of both, but it just depends on, how much excess income you've got to save, really.
And what would your answer be to that other question then? Because some people do say, can't be bothered with pensions, don't trust them, I'm going to buy a flat or something.
Well, ultimately, there's two points to that question. The first is that a pension offers you a tax-free environment, tax breaks for money that's going in, and the money grows tax-free. And when you come to take it out, 25% of it is tax-free. A property is taxed. It's in a taxed environment. You pay tax on the rental income. You can't even reclaim from next April all of the interest as deductible against that. So you've got the main comparison is taxed versus not tax-free, but tax-deferred and significant tax breaks. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, of course, in a pension, assuming you get the investment mix right, you have a real spread of different investments. That might be loans to the government, which are called gilts. It might be some stocks and shares. It might be some property as well, a property fund, that is. But it gives you a sort of a wide spread of risk. Whereas putting all your eggs in one basket, i.e. one property, can be a big risk to your retirement, in terms of how successful property prices are.
OK, let's try and squeeze in Janet in Pimlico. Hello, Janet.
Hello there, Clive.
Hi.
Hello, Charlie. I just have a question regarding carers. I'm a full-time primary carer for my mother for the last 13 years, and I don't know my situation regarding a state pension or a workplace pension. I'm dealing with this for the carers, the other carers that are looking after my mother at the moment. But for myself, as a primary carer, what are the options open to me?
Firstly, what age are you, Janet?
I
you don't mind me asking?
57.
Sorry,
yeah,
second?
no, at all. 57. 57.
57. Okay, so you're going to fall into the new pension regime, the new flat rate pension, as we are calling it. So you will get credit for being a full-time carer of somebody. You will get national insurance credit for doing that. But you're going to fall sort of in two systems, really. So it's difficult to answer that question to give you complete clarity. Certainly going forward, you're going to benefit from that. But I think that's probably a question for the state pension people to sort of help you with, I think, because you're going to fall between two categories on that.
A lot of people want to know, what are they in for? When is their state pension age going to be? There is this website I've just been looking at, which seems to help you with that, the gov.uk one.
That's it, yeah. The state pension calculator on gov.uk is, because everybody has got, this is constantly moving feast, it's as easy to go onto that, and that'll tell you when you're going to be able to retire, and also to give you an idea of what your retirement income is likely to be from the state pension.
So just to be clear then, there is no longer one retirement age.
Well, the problem is we're graduating from 65 through to 67 at the moment, but that's now linked to life expectancy, so that might go up to 68 and who knows, age 70 in the future.
Yeah, and of course it's dependent, a lot of people have been asking this question, which I think we've established now then, it is also dependent on how many years you've paid in, so it's not quite a flat rate that it would appear.
No, so you've got to have been in, doing the national insurance contributions for 35 years, but from 2020, it effectively will be that flat rate pension. It's just the people that are in the old system at the moment that need to graduate through to it. And then it's influenced by whether they've been opted out of the state pension, either through opting out into a personal pension, or because of a scheme, like, for example, a teacher's pension scheme, where they've automatically opted you out.
OK, Charlie, thank you very much. We're out of time. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Charlie Redding. Don't forget he's author of The Dream Retirement. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Clive.
Leading Britain's conversation at 1 o'clock. It's Darren Adam, but next on LBC, Ian Collins.